Welcome in, I'm Artris, and in this video we're going to be revisiting OP11 Blue Purple Luffy now that EBO3 has released. Not too much has changed for this leader, but with the release of EBO3 there is one card that this leader got that actually increases its consistency and fixes some of the issues that it has getting to 8 Dawn. But before we go into the deck list and into any gameplay, if you're new to the channel, please make sure to hit that sub button, give the video a thumbs up while you're at it. It helps out the channel so much. Thank you all for the support. Additionally, if you'd like to talk about the One Piece card game outside of the YouTube comments, make sure to join the Discord community. The link for that is in the description below. So as a reminder, this leader has a very unique ability that says you may activate this effect at the start of your turn if you have 8 or more Dawn cards on the field. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to one Straw Hat Crew type card, and add it to your hand. Then place the remaining cards at the top or bottom of your deck in any order. So of course with this, the longer the game goes on, the more cards you're able to see. Now a very important thing to note is that you only really have 1 month to be able to play this leader to its full capacity, because once the rotation hits, it loses a lot of key pieces, both of those being the 6-cost Red Rock and the 9-cost Mihawk. So realistically, this leader will still probably be pretty strong post-rotation, but the current power level at which it is, which I think is very strong, will not be the same once rotation hits. So if you're looking to play in any regionals or treasure cups before April, I highly recommend using this leader because it is one that you won't be able to play nearly to the same level afterwards. But enough about that. Let's go over the deck list and how it's different than the last time we covered it. I think not much has changed, but there are a couple pieces, so we'll go over some of these rather quickly. We have Otama from OP13 that if you have 3 or less life cards, draw 2 and trash 1. Of course, we're running Pudding because we're in blue, and this is a very important card to be able to close out games. We're running the 5-cost Nami blocker, which says on play for leaders multicolor, draw 3 and place 2 from your hand at the top or bottom of your deck in any order. Just a really great way to go further in the deck and be able to get rid of bricks that you might have in your hand. You can also use this ability preemptively to be able to stack the top of your deck so that if you have a 9-cost Sanji in hand, you can then know what's coming up the next turn. Of course, I mentioned the 9-cost Mihawk, a very important card that says on play, place 1 character with a cost of 7 or less at the bottom of the owner's deck. This card will be phased out around April because of the rotation, but this is a very important piece for a lot of the current meta. So I think that once this card is gone, this deck might suffer quite a lot. Of course, what makes this deck so powerful is the 9-cost Sanji. When you are using your leader ability to stack the top of your deck, you can cheat out a 9-cost or lower character other than Sanji by playing this card from your hand. So this, of course, you can grab because it's a Straw Hat Crew, and then you can stack the rest. Typically, you're going to try to find the Mihawk to bring out with it, but you can also bring out an 8-cost Roger, which we'll get to in a second. Then we're running a playset of Zoro Juro, a 3-cost 4,000 power body that just says when attacking, if you have 3 or less life cards, you can add up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and set it as active. If you're going first, a very important piece to get your ramp going so you can get to 8 as fast as possible. We're running a playset of the Usohachi 2K counter in purple. Of course, I've said this in every video that has a purple color in it. You should be running this in purple as a 2K counter at least for one of, but of course with this deck, since you can grab it and it is a very important piece to rest blockers, I'm running a playset here. Of course, to help us with our ramp, we have the 4-cost Bond Clay. On play, add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. And then when attacking, select up to one of your opponent's characters, and then you can copy that character's base power for that turn when you're attacking. So this is a very huge threat that just sits on the field the entire game, and then once your opponent plays a larger character, you can use that character's power to your advantage by copying it with the Bond Clay. Sometimes your opponent feels the need to get rid of this first, and so they might skip a turn where they could play optimally to get rid of this instead. For some more 2Ks, we're running the 6-cost Sanji. While you have 2 or more fewer Dawn cards on your field than your opponent, this card costs 3 less in your hand. You're usually just never going to be able to get that effect, but it is a solid blocker if you do need one later and you don't find the Nami. It's also a searchable 2K based off of your leader ability. Then onto the card that we got from EBO3. It's the 7-cost 7,000 power Charlotte Linlin. It says on play, draw 1 card and place 1 card from your hand at the top of your deck. Then add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. And then on KO, Dawn -1, add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards. A couple of reasons why this is very good for this deck is because if you're going second, you play a Bond Clay typically on your 4 Dawn turn, and then the next turn you're going to be on 7. So playing this Linlin to help you get to 8 establishes a pretty nice mid-sized body, but on top of that you ramp up to 8, and then you can also stack the top of your deck with a card that might be a card you want to cheat out with the 9-cost Sanji. So if you have an 8-cost Roger or a 9-cost Mihawk in hand and you have this Linlin, you can play this down, put the 9-cost Mihawk or the 8-cost Roger to the top, ramp up to 8, and the next turn you know you're not going to draw it because you're going to be using your leader ability first to search the top 5. Therefore, you can potentially get it out with a Sanji, so that usually helps you get to the high roll stage where you can start cheating out 2 bodies bodies at once. What's also really nice about this is it has a 1K, so in this deck we do run quite a lot of bricks, and so having just another card that you can pitch for counters, very nice. And then of course the on KO ability, being able to heal, adding one card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards is pretty sweet as well, because sometimes Luffy is very susceptible to being run down pretty early or going to a low life total, maybe even 1 or 0, and it can be very scary at those points. And if your opponent chooses to get rid of this Lin, then you feel a little bit safer going into your next turns. Another card that we got recently for this deck that I wasn't able to cover in the previous video for UP Luffy is the 8-cost Roger. This is an 8-cost 10,000 power promo card that says, on play, if you or your leader have 10 Dawn cards on the field, your leader gains 2,000 power into the end of your opponent's next end phase. Just another great body to cheat out with the 9-cost Sanji. It makes it really hard for your opponent to swing past you or do lethal math, especially when you have that additional plus 2,000 power. It's really difficult. The 1Ks really come in handy at that point. Roger's just a great card to also play without the 9-cost Sanji. If you just have a Roger in hand, you can play it and be pretty safe for a turn or two, leaving 2 open for things like Gum Giant or even Gear 2, because those are the main events that we're running in the deck. So this is a very good card. Typically, you're going to want to play this towards the end of the game because of the fact that your opponent probably has established a pretty wide board, and this will help mitigate a lot of those swings. We're running 2 Red Rock, another card that will be rotated out pretty soon. Just a great way to bottom deck anything your opponent has played. Doesn't matter the cost. If your opponent has played a pretty big threat, you can get rid of it really easily with this card. Another reason to run this deck is you have access to Gum Giant, and in this deck, it's incredibly powerful because you can stack the top of your deck to know what cards you're drawing into. So the counter is Dawn -2, trash 1 card from your hand. If your leader has the Straw Hat Crew type, give up to one of your leader or characters plus 4,000 power for this battle, and then draw 2 cards. Like I said, you can stack those 2 and know what you get. Typically, you're going to want to draw into a brick, use the giant to pitch the brick, and then have the next 2 be counter cards. But of course, you can't always control that. But regardless, this card is just incredibly strong in any deck, and especially in a leader that has a 6,000 power base power and can also see what's coming next. So I really do think that this deck is specifically the best deck for Giant. But of course, Giant's just a good card in general. Then we're running 4 Gear 2. This has a couple of uses. You can use the main, which is you may rest 2 of your Dawn cards. If your leader is blue, add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and rest it. And then the counter is plus 3,000 for your leader for the battle. So of course you can't protect your characters with this, so keep that in mind. But it is a pretty important counter event to be able to stay alive without having to minus too much Dawn. And then lastly, I'm running 3 of the It's to Die For event that says main, add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. Then if your opponent has a character with 6,000 power or more in play, add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. So there's a lot of times where your opponent's going to be able to play down a 6,000 power character pretty early on, and you can use that to your advantage to ramp up really fast. What's also really nice here is it has a trigger that also allows you to ramp if it's in life. Of course, if your opponent hasn't established a 6,000 power character quite yet and this comes out of life, you might want to consider using this. Otherwise, I just kind of hold on to it and wait until they play a larger character, so then I can get the maximum value from this card. If you've looked at the stats more recently online in the ranked sim, you do see that UP Luffy has a pretty good matchup spread into a lot of the current meta. It only really struggles into Emu, and of course sometimes into like Rosinante or Boa if they do see a high roll. If you're able to high roll though, I don't think that there's too many losing matchups in general. Being able to get out multiple 9,000 power bodies or higher is really powerful, and your opponent just really can't get past that. Some of your more favorable matchups will be things like Ace or Blue Yellow Nami, so if those are pretty heavy in your locals, you might want to consider this as a leader. Now there are some things you might want to change to this deck list, maybe some ratios or some cards you might want to add in place of others. We'll go over that at the end of the video, but in the meantime, let's take this list into the sim and see how it does. All right, into Blue Yellow Nami, I'm going to take second here, and this hand is pretty good because of the fact we have a ramp that's guaranteed to not get bounced back. So Zoro Juro is definitely not going to be played. It's just going to be used as counter because they have things to be able to bounce it back to my hand. 8 into lead, I'm just going to have to take this one because I want to hold on to the Gear 2 to be able to play that out to ramp up, so that we're able to then go into the Lin on 7 and then put what is probably going to be the Mihawk, which we just got off of life, pretty nice. Gravity Blade going away means our Namis will be safe at least. Use the Gear 2 to ramp up. So yeah, we're looking pretty good. We'll be able to ramp up this turn. On 5, typically they're going to probably play Nami, the new 5-cost yellow one, but because I took a life, they're not probably going to do it. As you can see, they put a Dawn underneath their leader, so this could be a Kiku Nojo coming out. Yep, Kiku Nojo, pretty solid for them. Quite the annoyance for me to have to deal with. Let's go ahead and play the Lin, and we'll stack the Mihawk to the top and then swing 7 into lead, forcing them to use their leader ability plus a 1K or take this hit, which I don't know if they want to take this hit, because if they do, they'll be going to 8 in hand, which, I mean, I guess that's not the worst thing for them. So yeah, they just end up taking that. That's fine. And then we're off to the races this next turn. On 7, they could play the new Nico Robin, which if we have the Mihawk and a Sanji, we could get 2 bodies out and then get rid of that. So that's pretty nice overall. I'm actually inclined to swing into this Kikunojo. I don't really care about them healing too much. There's the Nico Robin coming down, trashing a 8-cost kid, which is a nice thing to see go to the trash. That's one of the hardest cards to deal with as UP Luffy into Nami here. Okay, perfect. Sanji and a Mihawk at the top. And we have a pretty nice hand as well after that. So let's go ahead and just swing 6 into the Kikunojo, see if it goes down. Hopefully they let this one go. They'll go up to 5 life, which I don't really care, to be quite honest. We'll be able to take this down. They'll have no board in the process, so we'll be fine here. We'll go ahead and play... Well, they have a trigger. So it looks like Will You Be My Servant is the trigger here. What do they grab from it? Hopefully it's not going to be an 8-cost kid. They might already have one in hand. I would imagine they probably do if that's the case. Let's see here. Go ahead and play the Sanji out. Let's go and see what they got first. So the blocker Marco, pretty nice for them. We'll go ahead and bottom deck that Nico Robin, and now they have no board. And it's like they just started the game. No board and 4 life, while we have a pretty sizable board right now that they can't easily deal with. Red Rock doesn't answer any of that. Well, I guess it answers 1. Down comes the 8-cost kid. There goes one of my Rogers, but I have a second one in hand. We'll go ahead and give him a 1K here because the Bond Clay is pretty useless in this matchup as well. Usually just gets bounced or bottomed. So we'll just pitch that one out. Now, based off of our top stack, we could get another 9-cost Sanji into something. We do have a potential to do 9-cost Sanji into a Linlin, although that's not very impactful. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab the Giant and then bottom deck the rest. We can go ahead and just play out the Roger and then be an 8K leader for a turn, which is going to be hard for them to get past. We'll swing 7 into lead. They're probably going to want to, I was going to say, they probably want to use their leader ability plus a 1K, but I guess they don't care. We'll go ahead and swing 8 into lead here. This one will more than likely be a leader ability in a 2K, or at least I hope for their case. That is what they do. Pitching a Nico Robin and what's likely going to be a 2K here. They could go 2 1Ks and get their hand size pretty low, but yeah, baby 5 it is. 9 into 7. I'm just going to ignore the kid. I don't really care. It's easier for us to swing 9 into 7 than it is 9 to 9. More value for us overall. They do take that one, go down to 2, and then this one, a 2 and probably a 1. If it's a 2 and a 2, we'll take. We'll take that any day of the week. Good to see that. We might be able to close the game out this next turn depending on what they do here. This is a very pivotal turn for them. They need to decide how they approach this. So that's really good for them. Marco being able to prevent any kind of guaranteed lethal, at least. Pudding hurts a lot. We just lost all of our Gum Gum Giants. That hurts a lot. Okay, that's not really unfortunate. And then, of course, they're going to swing 10 with the kid with 6 in hand. I don't have anything to be able to prevent that. I'd have to dump my entire hand, and I don't really want to do that. So we'll just go ahead and take that and get a 2K in that that swing there. I guess we'll grab a Sanji, and no, Giant's fine. I was thinking Sanji 2K is pretty good, but I think what we end up doing here is let's just swing Linlin first and see what they do, see what the reaction is before I commit to anything. I'm thinking Roger and leave open Dawn to be able to then just defend myself, but I might not have enough depending on how hard they swing. So Nami also might be a pretty good option just to block her up. Could be hard for them to get past a blocker. They're going to have to spend Dawn on that. So 7, they counter out. 9, they might just block this one, see what they can get from it. Yep, that's to be expected. We'll go ahead and swing 7 into lead here. Just get another card out of hand. We're not going to go for lethal. We're just trying to get value out of their hand right now and then go for lethal the next turn. I don't think I'm going to die unless they have just the nuts going into this next turn. 10 into 7. 11 might have been a little bit better here. 11 because it's going to be harder for them to counter out of, and if they have a Zeus in hand, if they're running Zeus, they could use that last life to pop my Nami and then swing really large with the kid. They also might just have Nojiko to bounce it back as well. That's probably going to be their best bet. So they do take it, thankfully. A Kikunojo did come out. That's not very good for us, but oh well. We'll play out the Nami. We'll go ahead and bottom deck both of the to die fours because, you know, it's a dead card. This is where you wish that Thunder Boggle was in the deck because of the fact that you would at least not be bottom decking those. Oh well, I digress. Anyway, here they have to really consider what's best lethal math for them. They could swing a couple of 8s, maybe like 8, 8, 9, 9. Is that right? 8, 8, 9, 9. Yeah, it's like 8, 8, 9, 9, which that's not going to get across, but you never know. They could also try to get rid of the Nami, bounce it back to hand, and then swing 6. I'll give them a Nami, and then at that point it would be 17, which I think I would potentially have plus 4, 12, 14, 15, 16. I'd have to have like a 2K come out of hand, so they have to have like a Nojiko and just swing all in, and I'd have to pray that my giant finds me something. So yeah, I mean, that's probably their best bet. So let's just see what they do. All right, putting 4 on the pudding signifies that they probably don't have the Nojiko, which perfect for us. Means that if that's the case, they might be going 8, 8, 9, 9, which we can easily get out of. We'll go ahead and block one of the 9s. I mean, it doesn't really matter. We could do giant. They might also like switch it up and go, okay, 8. We're definitely going to giant here. We don't know what's coming up next, or at least I don't think I know what's coming up next. I already forgot. Okay, so giant into a gear 2. We were going to be fine either way. They also didn't really have, they could have red rocked and swung in, but that wouldn't have done it. So I guess we got a little bit lucky with our draw into the giant gear 2, but it could have been disastrous if that wasn't the case. Into Mihawk, they chose to go first, which is really good for them. This hand is not really hot. So I think we're going to be in a little bit of a bind here, trying to find our pieces along the way and hope to not take too much damage. Going first for them is just usually always really good, but especially into me, they can start swinging 8s really consistently, and it's hard to be able to stay alive while also making it to the late game. And once they get to the late game, it's really difficult for me because their bodies are really huge. We're going to go ahead and give them a 2K there, even though that is not really what I want to do. I just don't want to take a hit that I can counter out of this early. So just going to swing 6 into the Bonnie, and then we'll play It's to Die For. I'll leave open the gear 2 just in case I want to use it for the next turn. I'm not entirely sure I will, though. It's a pretty good way to ramp up for the next turn after that. I guess we could have used it this previous turn, expecting the Tashigi to come down this turn, but I think I just wanted to have my options. It's to Die For out of life. I think I just want to actually hold on to this one because of the fact that they have Tashigi on the field already. Oh, well, it doesn't even matter. We can get the Lin. So we'll swing 6 into 2, which is one of their only ways to be able to really use their leader ability effectively. Oh gosh, 2 It's to Die For. We'll go ahead and put the Mihawk to the top because I'm expecting a 7-cost Shanks to come down. It doesn't, so that's at least okay for us. There's not another big body this turn, but we'll be able to Sanji into Mihawk something. Whether that is, I guess, Kid and Killer or a Killer or Tashigi, I don't really know. It doesn't really matter too much. Like, the Tashigi's not going to really ever go anywhere because of the fact it protects itself. Swinging what's going to probably be, looks like 8, 9. So we can use the gear 2 here to get out of one of these hits, go down to 1, and then take the other one. Unfortunate, but it is what it is. We kind of have to just do this. We have to take the hit because this is how Mihawk plays. They play really hard and fast, and they're at 5. Well, we're on the back foot already, so it doesn't feel good. Okay, this might actually be an 8 because they could put 1 underneath the Killer, and then if they block, then they can get the draw off with that. Interesting tech to see there. Not bad for this deck, actually, because of the fact you have extra Dawn to play with. I think here we'll go ahead and grab a gear 2, and then we'll just have where the Zoro Juro is sandwiching the Mihawk. Actually, Roger's probably a little bit better here because we aren't able to really guarantee to get rid of the Tashigi. So I'm going to go ahead and just swing 7 into lead. They're going to go ahead and just use the Kid and Killer here. And that's fine because that means that the Kid blocker doesn't actually get the draw because you have to have 3 characters on the field. So pretty good for us. They take that hit. They go down to 4, and then we'll go ahead and play out the Roger and swing 8 into lead. We're just trying to pressure them here. Usually I want to kind of starve this matchup a little bit, especially if I'm in the driver's seat. But because we are on the back foot, I think I need to start getting them to a low life total. 9-cost Mihawk is an unfortunate thing to see as well. They are seeing some pretty good cards. They are curving out, which I guess they didn't really curve out the last turn. So they did take 1 turn away from curving out, so we were able to breathe a little bit and establish these bodies, but 9-cost Mihawk is really annoying to have to deal with. They're probably going to just use their leader ability or their Tashigi ability, buff it up, and then I'll just give them a 1K here. I think what we could do is go Sanji into Mihawk is probably fine. Let's go ahead and go in Sanji into Mihawk and get rid of the Kid. We're not going to be able to get rid of this Tashigi. They'll just rest the Kid, and so I think I'll just get rid of it outright. Swing 6 in a lead, and then 7, 9, and then leave open the 1 Dawn for the gear 2. We have a 2, 2, and a 1, but we're also just in a really big bind here because of the fact that if they really want to push this next turn, it's pretty easy for them to do so. They could just swing the Mihawk outright, and then there's not much we could do. Actually, I think I'm just going to pass the turn here because knowing they have a Law and Beppo means that their leader, sure, they'll be able to rest and freeze something, but they won't be buffed up the next turn, and then we can really push the following turn with the characters that we have that will be able to swing. I assume that the Roger will be rested and frozen by the Law and Beppo. And then the Mihawk will freeze one of the Sanjis or Mihawks. So we'll only really have 3 characters to swing with, but their leader will be a 5k base, which is nice. And there's a potential where we could actually potentially come back from this based off of our top 5 stack. We'll go ahead and give him a 1k here. Unfortunate that it has to be the Nami, because that is a good card to be able to protect myself with, barring that they don't see Dead Man's game. Go ahead and give them the +3, and then I'm just gonna have to take this 10. It feels awful, but I just have to. Like, there's nothing I can do with that. And then based off of our stack, maybe we can get a giant to start getting these It's to Die For out of our hand. Good to see that. We'll go ahead and put the red rock to the top to draw into it. I think what we do is just immediately snap, get rid of the Mihawk, so that way they can't pitch bricks from hand. And then maybe there's a way we can contest the Tashigi. So I'm going to swing 6, which is the easiest thing for me to swing into them and the easiest thing for them to counter out of, which they do give me a counter, which is nice because then I can focus my attention onto this Tashigi. So let's go ahead and swing 10 into it. If I swing 7 into lead, they might actually take it, and I wouldn't be guaranteed to get lethal, and so they're going to have more cards in hand to protect their Tashigi with. So let's go ahead and just swing into the Tashigi. They're giving us counter out of it, which is kind of scary because if they have Dead Man's game, then I can't giant if I need to put more Dawn on this. We'll go 9 into 8. They let it go. Good to see that. We'll go 7 in the lead. And then I think, I mean, we kind of have to bluff. I don't think we have enough counter to get out of this. So they're probably just going to swing all out with the Law and Beppo. And I mean, that's kind of just how it is. But okay, they swing 6 first. So that means they're going to go 6 and probably, what, 20? We'll give them a 1k here, and then, yeah, 20 into lead. I don't think I have anywhere near enough. The top stack is not what I'd like it to be, unfortunately. We'll go ahead and give them 2, 2, 1. Even if we had that gear 2 to be able to draw into, we still wouldn't have been able to get there. We would have been like 1 or 2k short. So I think in those scenarios, probably it's better to, instead of play for survivability, just go for lethal instead. Let's see if we can get a rematch into another Mihawk and play it a little bit differently, knowing that. All right, rematch time. That hand is awful. This is much better. We are still going second. And they do start off with Boat, so a pretty good start for them. But we do have double Bond Clay into hopefully a Lin by then. So if we need to, we can use double Bond Clay. We can also play Zorojuro out. I actually think Zorojuro might not be an awful option as well because they don't really have a way to interact with it, and it could potentially be something they want to swing into. We'll just go ahead and give them the Zorojuro, though. Easiest way to get rid of that. We'll go ahead and play the Bond Clay and swing 7 into lead. This next turn, I fully expect a Tashigi to come out, and then they start swinging 8 into lead, and I have to take that one, unfortunately. Or I guess I could counter out, but I don't want to drop 2 cards this early on. There is the Bonnie. Okay, so they aren't seeing their 5 curve. That's actually really good for us. It is annoying that we do have to swing into this Bonnie, though. Double Bonnie. Okay, so one of the Bonnies is going to go... They're actually going to stay pretty healthy and just get their hand size up. In the meantime, getting the... what is that event? Anyway, we'll go ahead and then play out the Nami. Oh, perfect. Lin right on time. We'll swing 6 into the Bonnie. We'll put the Roger at the top. And then I think we just passed because we could swing the Bond Clay into the Bonnie, but probably a bad idea to do that this early because we want to use this as a threat later on, although they could just drop a Shanks this turn, and then it would have been for nothing. So, yeah, it just depends on what they have. Okay, so a Law, okay, pretty good for them to be able to Bonnie to stun our Dawn. Makes it a little bit harder for us to play, but obviously we know what's coming up. We will still play the Sanji into whatever we have. If it is a Mihawk, it actually might be a better option, but the 8-cost Roger is really good in this regard anyway. So Sanji off the top, easy peasy, there's the Roger. Let's go ahead and grab the Usohachi. We'll stack the Red Rock at the top, and then we can grab a Gear 2 the next turn. We won't be able to use the Gear 2 anyway because we're tapped out if we play the Sanji, so it's fine here. We'll swing 7 into lead, see if they give us any counter out of hand, and then if they do, which they do, we'll go ahead and turn our attention to the rested Bonnie here and swing 8 into 6. Just really good math for us, good numbers overall. 7 into 5, 8 into 6. Kind of difficult for them to try to get out of some of these. So yeah, overall, okay, here's the 9-cost Mihawk on curve for them. Always a pain to see. I know some people are not a fan of this card, but it is quite annoying. They are going to prevent our Bond Clay from being rested, and they grab a Law and Beppo in the meantime. So that's another thing that we have to keep in mind. They have, what, 9 cards in hand? Looking pretty rough here. I think we go ahead. We could grab a Red Rock because we have one in hand. We can grab the other one, let them know that we have it, bottom deck the rest, and see what we get. That's fine. 2k is great here. Just immediately get rid of that 9 cost. We'll prevent them from getting any more card value with this Bonnie. Just swinging 6 into it. They're unlikely to protect this. And then after that, what we can do is start swinging into the Law. So that way we clear their board. And then we will have this huge board this next turn when they do play what is more than likely going to be the Law and Beppo. There's the 1 cost event. Triculism, I think is what it's called. And then 10 into the 6, and then another 10 into 5, down to 3 life. And then, as I said, they probably are just going to play the Law and Beppo. Oh, okay, 10 cost Dofi. This is actually really good for them in this scenario because they have all these rested units. They'll be able to swing 8 into lead here, and I'm just going to go ahead and give them a 2 and a 1 and then pass after that. Okay, this is actually a really good top stack. I'm going to draw into the pudding, and then we'll keep the Rogers for another turn. What we're going to end up doing here is I kind of want to swing the Bond Clay, but I think instead what I'm going to do is pudding first, then Red Rock so they don't have the potential to get the 10 cost Dofi back in their hand. Swing 7, and then just pass after that, leaving the Bond Clay upright just in case they play another big body this next turn. It would have been nice to swing 10 there, but I didn't want to give them the opportunity to counter out of that one. Because if they counter out of that one, then the pudding wouldn't have been nearly as good. We got, what, 4 cards out of their hand with that? Maybe even 5. I can't remember if they were 9 or 10. So anyway, there they drop a 1 cost counter event. So down to 4, up to 5 again this turn. We're looking pretty good. This is actually much different than the previous Mihawk matchup. Just because we are able to, well, they didn't see a 5 drop, which is very important for them. Go ahead and give them 2 2Ks because if we let them connect on that, yeah, they could potentially go for lethal the next turn. Their hand was actually pretty solid afterwards as well. Another Law and Beppo to follow it up with. But yeah, I think the writing was on the wall there based off of our board size. They would have not been able to survive all these hits. Ace is a pretty favorable matchup for us, but they do get to go second, which of course Ace loves to do. We do have a pretty solid curve here. We could play a It's to Die For, but I'm going to hold on to it because usually on 4, they're going to end up playing a Marco. And so the It's to Die For will hyper ramp us up. Grabbing a I Am Whitebeard event off of the Garp. We'll swing 6 in the lead, and then we'll play out the Zorojuro. The worst case scenario is they have an Atmos and bounce this back, but usually a lot of lists have started cutting Atmos, so I don't fully expect this to be bounced back. Spoke too soon. There's the Atmos to bounce back the Zorojuro, slowing us down by a turn. Unfortunate. What do we do here? What do we do here? I think we play the Bond Clay because the Bond Clay is a pretty good option. They are not having their leader ability activate this turn because of the fact that they don't have Dawn underneath them. So let's just go ahead and hit them hard for 8. The reason I play the Bond Clay is because if they don't have a Jozu, which they had an Atmos, maybe they'll have a Jozu. If they don't have a Jozu, this Bond Clay is an immense threat to Ace. So they have to answer it. If they answer it, then we are pretty far behind, unfortunately. But that is just the nature of trying to read your opponent's hand here. Leader ability giving us the 10 cost plus a Yamato, meaning that they probably have another 10 cost. Unfortunate, but it's likely the case. Down comes Jozu. They are answering everything. They are actually seeing a really, really good curve here. We'll go ahead and play the Lin, putting the Mihawk at the top. I'm inclined to just swing 8 here because of the fact that they don't have Dawn underneath their leader yet again, so it's forcing cards out of their hand, which we love to see. It does mean that we won't be able to play the Gear 2, which there is the I Am Whitebeard into the 10 cost Newgate, which we do get slightly punished for this because if they put 2 under the Atmos, 2 under their leader, then they go 7, 7, 8. We can really only get out of 2 of these, and losing 3 cards in that process really hurts, which I'm going to have to do. And then we'll take the 8 here. We were pretty far behind. This Sanji's pretty nice to be able to then play out the Mihawk. So let's go ahead and just try to get this Atmos off the field. Usually they'll just let it go because there's no reason to really protect it. They don't get a card draw off of it when it gets KO'd. So I think it's fine for them to just let this go, but they're thinking about it, and understandably so. If they can counter out of this and then protect it with the 10 cost blocker, then that's fine, but they'll just probably block this one anyway. As expected, the Sanji comes down to then get rid of the Jozu, and then we have a much sizable board than we had the previous turn, which is pretty good for us, but if they decide to swing the 10 cost Newgate, we kind of just have to let them. And it depends on what they do this turn. They're playing an Atama to be able to filter their hand. Oh my god. 11 into 6. I couldn't get out of that one. And then 12 into 6, I also can't get out of that one. So kind of have to go for game here. I think I'm just going to go ahead and grab the Usohachi and just hope for the best. We'll swing 7 into 6, and maybe an 8 into 6 would have been better here. They go ahead and use their leader ability. Okay, we're just going to rest the Marco, and we're going for game. 9 into 6 here. They use their leader ability so early, so that means they have to give us 2 2Ks. They don't do it. That's actually really good for us. 10 into 6. Are they baiting us? We're just going to go 12. We're just going to go 12 because we have to. They were not baiting. They were not baiting us. They were just bricked up. Okay, sometimes that's just ace. Sometimes you're just really bricked up. Let's see if we can find another ace matchup and see if we can take second and show how it actually is supposed to go. All right, into Rosie. I want to take first because I think that first into Rosie is actually a better option for us. It prevents them from getting bodies quicker than us, and also we will not be able to be 4-cost lawed in that case as well. We'll go ahead and swing 6 into 5, and then we'll play out the Zorojuro. Our hand is pretty stacked because of the fact that we are able to hyper ramp up, getting to 8 by, turn 4, so that's really good for us, and then hopefully our stack is good thereafter. Sometimes when you get to 8 really fast, and then the stack sucks after that, it feels really bad, so kind of have to play with the RNG here and see how it goes. Swinging 6 into lead will give him a 1K, and then, of course, they're going to play out a Rosie, and then this will likely be Promo Law. There he comes down. Here, what we could do... Actually, Promo Law is really good for us because we could go It's to Die For. Then we can also play out the Bond Clay, and then swing 5 with the Zorojuro, and then at that point, we're, at 9 Dawn already? We'll swing 5 into lead, and then 6 into lead. They'll probably just free block that one, yeah, as expected. And then 6 into 5. We have 3 cards in hand. It doesn't matter. We're at 3 life, and we're about to start stacking, baby. So we'll have the Gear 2 to prevent any kind of big hits, but I imagine that one of these swings will be focused on the Zorojuro. Although I will admit, if you're playing against a UP Luffy, and they are already at the 8 Dawn, don't swing into the Zorojuro. I think it's just not worth it. Okay, yeah, it's a free block for me. I already got my value out of the Zorojuro. I'm not going to be de-ramping enough where the Zorojuro is going to be needed to ramp up again. So at that point, just focus on my life instead. I actually might want to take this one because... Yeah, well, I will probably just take this one anyway because I don't want to give him a Gear 2 for a what could be a 2K. Swinging and then getting the Rosinante out. Oh my gosh. Really good to see that Mihawk at the top. Although there is no 9-cost Sanji along with it, it doesn't really matter too much. Let's swing the Bond Clay first just to see if they do anything here. Maybe they block and give us a 1K. Maybe they take this hit. But regardless, we're going to get our value out of this Bond Clay first, and then we're going to get rid of the Rosie and Law. We'll swing 6 in the lead. They block 1K, so that's pretty good. Also really good that they got rid of that 4-cost Law because that thing is a pain against me, especially if I start getting a really large hand size. Always awful to have to lose 2 random cards. So here, what they could possibly do is obviously they're going to swing into the Bond Clay. They're probably going to swing 6, and then, I mean, they're on 8 Dawn, so they could probably like swing maybe 6, 7, or maybe 6, 6, 7, maybe 6, 6, 8, depending on if they bring something out with the 8-cost Law, I'm assuming is coming down. Yep, there he is, or she is, rather. So the 8-cost Law swinging 6 into lead. I'm going to go ahead and just use the Gum Gum Giant just to get a little bit further into the deck, knowing that I have a 2K coming up. And then at that point, if they decide to play out the 7-cost Law to buff everything up, it's just a Rosie and Law, that's fine. If they want to swing 8, I'll probably just have to take this one. They do swing 8, that's unfortunate. Maybe we can find another Mihawk in the time being, but... You know what? Sanji into Roger is also really good as well. I don't hate it. I think that's actually a pretty good option. So go Sanji into Roger, swing 8 into lead here. They might just block, give us a 1K. And if that's the case, then I'll just swing 9 as well into lead. Most of the time, you're just wanting to focus into life as much as possible in this matchup and try to get rid of the bodies along the way. Because, you know, it's not really easy to swing into the bodies to get rid of them because they can just use their leader ability to protect. They give us a 1K there, and then we'll just go 9 into lead. Swinging into the, like, the blockers, any of those is kind of just inting at that point because they can just take that life anyway. So we don't want to do that. If they're going to take the life, let's just force them to take the life through a hit. And then this next turn, because we are at 8, it's a little bit harder for them to crack through this defense. So it's good that we have a Gear 2. I wish I had a Giant here because I do have a It's to Die For, which is always just a dead card once you've hit 10. One of the reasons why Bagawa might be a better option instead of It's to Die For, although It's to Die For, when you do see that ramp early, it's just insane. So, you know, pros and cons to that card overall. Another Rosie and Law coming down. This card is just so good. I really, really like this card a lot. One of the better cards to come out for a deck in a while. Just being able to have a really tanky blocker that draws you, ramps you, and in this deck specifically, you're not afraid to swing with it. So, yeah, hold on 1 second. You can't swing 6 against me. I'm an 8K leader. So we'll go ahead and give him the 1K there. Down comes another Promo Law. They are blockered up. I think I just go Sanji. Oh gosh, this one's a tough one. I could go Sanji Mihawk. I think Sanji Mihawk might be good, but also Roger is just a really good option as well since we are close to being lethal. So let's go ahead and just do the Sanji Roger. Sometimes it just like snap, make decisions. I was thinking about the Mihawk, but like if they start swinging big this next turn, I am doomed. So I want to go ahead and just make sure I'm good defensively here. 8 into lead. They could just like block this with the 1K. They could also just block them with the blockers they have. They don't have to lose a life wall blocking. Their blockers also might not be able to swing this next turn as well, depending on how they play it out. So we'll see. But this 8 into 5 is definitely being contemplated pretty heavily. I think that they're considering, can they get lethaled? I Love You event to be able to probably grab a 2K and then use that 2K that they just grabbed. So I Love You essentially is like a +4, which is pretty sweet. Okay, so it's the rush loss. So they're looking to prolong the game a little bit longer, it looks like, based off of just that grab, which is pretty nice for us. I mean, I guess it's not nice for us, but I think we'll be fine regardless, because that thing can't really swing into us freely, which is nice. Okay, they take 1 hit, go down to 1. And yet again, they are pretty blockered up. We're lucky that they didn't see any Virgos, because the Virgo is definitely a great card into this matchup because of the fact that they can prevent the 6-cost Rosinante from being bottom decked while also trading efficiently into the bodies on my side of the field. Looks like they're just going to use the effect to draw, buff their entire field with this 7-cost law. This is actually a pretty good play by their part, healing back up and then having all these huge characters. Swinging 8 into lead. I'm just going to give them a 1K here. And then I think we'll be fine after that. They just concede. Okay, so understandably so. They wouldn't have been able to survive based off of the amount of bodies that I have. But maybe play it out. I don't know. Red-Black Sabo is an interesting leader to play against. I think it's actually a pretty rough matchup for my deck because of the fact that if I don't play it correctly, they can really just win this game hard. We are going first and we have the perfect curve. Everything we need. We have Gear 2 into a Bond Clay into It's to Die For, so we can get to our 8 Dawn turn by turn 4. Is that correct? There's the promo Sabo to prevent any kind of, or I guess, to prevent me from starving them. I'm still going to starve them. I'm going to force them to take that life regardless. I'm not going to swing into them. In this matchup, I don't swing into them until I have a 5-stack board, which is probably not the smartest way to play it, but I do think that it's a good way to play against Sabo because we're not giving them resources. We're not getting them to have their leader ability be online early. They choose not to use the Sabo effect, which I think is a mistake here. They should have used it because I am starving them out. And so because I am starving them out, they are not going to be a 5K leader, and it's going to hurt really hard. If they do see the 6-cost Sabo, which there he is, then it becomes a little bit easier for them to start swinging into me anyway because they can just negate that minus 1,000 power. Yeah, that sucks, but we'll take that first hit. Red Rock comes down. If they want to swing the Sabo, I'm happy with this because it gives me a target to swing into. I will gladly do that. This is actually a really solid stack as well. Mihawk is pretty dead this matchup because we can't bottom deck any of their stuff. It's just a big body to play down. So we'll go ahead and just play the Roger and swing 8 into 7. And then we'll swing another 8 into 7 as well with the Bond Clay. This one, they'll probably give us a 2K if they want to keep this alive. If they want to let it go, perfect. We won't swing anymore. But I imagine they're probably just going to protect this one with a 2K and then maybe block 1K. There's also an argument to be able to swing with 9 with the Bond Clay, but I think leaving the Dawn open since we have a Giant is pretty good as well. Block 2K. They could have just given us a 2K, I suppose. They had it either way. So yeah, this turn I imagine will be probably an 8-cost dragon, either black or red. Take your variation. Red would be the worst one to see. I gotta stop saying this stuff, man. Every time I say, "Oh, this is coming down," it's it ends up happening anyway. So okay, so here's the 8-cost Roger, or 8-cost dragon, and this card's gonna suck because of the fact that it swings for 10 with their leader buffing it. So insane. 7 in the lead, doesn't really matter. Here they could go 8 with the Sabo. If they go 8 with a Sabo, I'm happy with that because I'll give them a 1K. Gives me something to swing into. I have a Red Rock ready to go for the 8-cost Dragon, so we're going to go ahead and just use the Giant pitching out the Mihawk because, like I said, it's a pretty dead card in this matchup. And then here, ooh, okay, this is a pretty interesting stack. We'll grab the Giant, and then we have a lot of counter coming our way, so I think that's actually pretty good. So we'll swing 6 into the 3. I know it sounds like it's inting, but if they do have a Stussy, then at least it's one less target for them to be able to trash. They'd have to get rid of a useful body instead. 10 into 8. Wow. They really want to protect this. 10 into 8 again. They're probably blocking this one with the 4-cost Sabo. Yep, blocking that one. And then what we can do is just bottom deck the Dragon. And then we have 3 open. I mean, we could have swung a little bit harder, I suppose, but it doesn't matter too much. I want to swing solid numbers and get a read for their hand. Only 3 cards in hand is pretty good for us. We don't really need to swing at all until we have 5 wide, like I said. It's like a drop in the bucket where you just, all of a sudden, everything just hits in one turn, get them down to 1 or 0 life. and force them to be in a really awkward position. 9 into lead here. I'm just going to go ahead and Giant, getting rid of the Mihawk yet again. We know we have more counter coming our way, and we're getting a little bit closer to the 9-cost Sanji. We'll go ahead and take this hit because I don't think it's worth dropping any more cards. We are seeing some really nice cards at the top of the deck. Nothing to really do anything with the Sanji, unfortunately, but at least we have the Roger. Once again, we're turning our attention to anything that's tapped sideways until I can get a very, very wide board, which we might be able to do next turn. I am tempted to swing right now. I'm really tempted to swing right now, but I think I'll hold off one more turn and then see what they do here. If they want to swing really big with their leader or the Koala, that's great. I think what we need to do is ignore the 4-cost Koala because it brings out a 6-cost from the trash or hand, meaning that the Sabo we just got rid of comes back. So we just ignore the Koala overall. Since we are an AK leader, we will be able to get out of one of these hits. They aren't going to be able to swing too big, of course, and that's because we just haven't been swinging into them. If we were swinging into them and they were at this point of the game, they could go 8-8, and that's just one more card out of our hand. They're going to opt to not swing the Koala and instead swing their leader. We'll give them a 1k, and then we will play out the Sanji into a Roger with sandwich in between two 2ks, which is really nice. Okay, so now we're just going to start swinging because we have a very wide board. We're going to go 8, 9, 10, 10. This will likely all connect and then get them down to 1 life with 5 wide. And it really doesn't matter what they do because at this point I'm an AK leader. It's really hard for them to break through. They have no way to eat my hand. And I have a lot of 2Ks, a Gum Giant drawing into more 2Ks. So even with this dragon, which is a really solid play, it's not enough to crack through what I have here. So unfortunate for them, but this is kind of how you have to play it against Sabo. Starve them out the best you can, establish bodies, attack the ones that are turned sideways because they do like to be aggressive with the bodies they have. Usually the blockers are not blockers. They are always going to be turned sideways, and you can usually use that to your advantage here. So I would imagine that they're probably just going to end up doing an 8, 8, a potential another 8, and a 10. Still not enough. This is a reason that 8-cost Roger is so good because of the fact that these turns, if I was a 6k leader, it's really difficult for me to get out of all of these hits. I could still do it, but it costs a lot more. I will go ahead and take this one just to make them feel like, oh, maybe there is a potential. Just go ahead and give them a gear 2 and crush their hopes and dreams. And then doesn't matter what we grab, Uso Hachi, and then just start swinging 10s. We could play Pudding, but we'll just go ahead and swing 10 into lead. And yeah, we were able to just play it pretty efficiently based off of the amount of Rogers to keep steadily alive and starve them out in the meantime. All right, Ace rematch. Taking second here. I like this hand. We have a Zoro Juro, Lin, Sanji for our stack, Red Rock for the 10 cost, and 1 Giant for later on. If we can get something better than the... Okay, prayers have been answered. I was going to say, if we can get something better than the Zoro Juro, I'm pretty happy. Bond Clay is better than the Zoro Juro. It's a guaranteed ramp. We can get to 7. We can stack the top. And it's more of a threat against them as well. We'll have to take this 8. I don't want to give them any cards out of hand. We could be puddinged, which sucks, but oh well. We'll go ahead and swing 6. I don't like swinging 7s into Ace because of the fact that they can just use their leader ability freely. I want to force them to at least give me a card out of hand that I want to see what it is, either through leader ability or just through actual counter, so we get rid of the Atmos, meaning that they probably have an answer to this. They don't have an answer to it this turn, at least. That's good. I don't want to take this hit. I'm actually going to give them 2 1Ks here because I don't want to get puddinged. I think our hand is pretty good. So we'll go ahead and swing 6 into lead here. They might actually just take this one. I would imagine they probably just take this one because they have the Dawn underneath their leader. And then what we can do is play out the Lin. I'm not swinging with the Bond Clay. We'll ramp up, put the Roger to the top, and they are not going to be able to play a 10 cost until 1 more turn, so we will be able to establish 2 big bodies before they can establish 1 big body, which is really nice. Yamato comes down. 7 and probably 8, so 7 into lead. I'll just give them a 2k, and then we'll have to take the 8. Oh, well, regardless, I'll give them the 2k, even though it's a 6k swing. Pitching a 10 cost Newgate. Whenever you see one in the trash, it usually means that there's more in hand. Nice little 2k to come out of life. Good to see. Oh, this is actually an interesting turn. I think I'm going to go and grab the gear 2. I think the Roger's still the best bet here because of the fact that they will be swinging up pretty heavily. We'll swing 7 into 6. Don't really have an option here. 7 into 6 is the only thing I can really swing. And then we'll go 8 into, I would imagine probably the Cavendish is a little bit better to swing into, especially if they counter out here. They use the Ezo effect. Then yeah, we'll do Sanji into the Roger, and I'm going to swing into the Cavendish just because I want to force more cards out of hand. I would imagine they probably want to keep this alive because it does give them a lot of value over the course of the game. So Atmos is being pitched out, meaning that the Bond Clay is at least alive, or on the field rather. This turn, if they do play out the 8-cost Newgate, I say 8-cost Newgate. I guess he's technically an 8-cost Newgate with the event, right? What we can do is swing the Bond Clay into whatever they rest sideways first, and then after that we can Red Rock, and then if they have protected any of the units through the Bond Clay swing, we can swing into those units. Otherwise, we just turn our attention into life. We could do like 8 with the Lin, 10, something like that. So here comes the Newgate as expected. 2 under their leader, 2 under the Cavendish, so they'll probably just swing 8, 9. And we'll get out of these easily with the Otama, and then a Gear 2 is probably going to be our best bet here. I guess we could dig with the Giant, but I want to hold on to the Giant for something different, I think. So we'll go ahead and use the Gear 2 here. And like I said, this turn, we'll go ahead and just swing the Bond Clay first. What do we grab? 2K is pretty good. We'll stack a Gear 2 and a Giant towards the top, so we draw into those. And then swing the Bond Clay, copy the 10 cost. This, I imagine, will not be blocked at all. We'll go ahead and then bottom deck the Newgate and then swing 8. I want to swing 8, 8, 10, 10, or like 8, 8, 9, 10. Depends on what they do here. But we also have a lot of counter events that cost, you know, Dawn. So we'll have to leave open Dawn more than likely instead. So that's fine. They go ahead and counter out of that one. Let's swing 6 in the lead since they did use their leader ability to pitch a brick. So another 1K out of hand, and then let's just swing 10 and then 10. I'm okay getting rid of or not being able to use all of the Gear 2s. Red Rock to bottom deck the Bond Clay. That's fine. It was probably going to go down anyway the next turn, so they probably are just going to focus life. They might want to close out the game this next turn, I would imagine. If they take this hit, they're going to have to go for game because I don't think they can withstand another couple of hits like this. And if they block her up, there's always the potential that I have like Uso Hachi or a way to bottom deck it or just go really wide with another Sanji something. So I think their best bet might actually be either playing the 10 cost Newgate if they have it in hand. With 8 in hand, they probably have it, but otherwise they could just swing like maybe 10, 12 and just hope that I don't have counter in hand. Unfortunately for them, I do, but they don't know that, and they might have to test the waters, especially since I have 5 in hand. This is actually the perfect hand size for these moments because of the fact that putting, if it is an option, it's not an actually good option for them. 10 into 6, and if they go 12 into 6, I'll have enough regardless. So I'm going to go ahead and just force them to use the rest of their Dawn. So we'll go ahead and take this hit. We could trigger this to bottom the Otama. It doesn't really matter, though. They're never going to swing with it, but it could also be another reason if they have a pudding in hand, they could go pudding and then 8, but pudding 8's not really good either. But if we did want to avoid that, we could have used it. So anyway, forcing them to use this to go 12, we'll go ahead and then pitch the Red Rock and then give them a Gear 2. And that should be all she wrote. If we get a pudding out of this top, then we're good, but they did have a pudding, which once again, in those moments where you have 5 in hand and they're trying to go for game, perfect there. I think we played it really well. This is kind of how the ace matchup goes in general. I try to get a wide variety of different leaders to go against and even try to rematch against some. And I think that overall, as you can see, this leader does pretty well. Just in general, I think the 7-cost Lin really just helps with your consistency of getting to 8 Dawn quickly. And also being able to stack that top life is very important in certain scenarios, especially if your hand is bricked up with a lot of the Mihawks or the Rogers. So of course, the Lin is just a very, very important card, and it's dirt cheap. This is a deck I'm heavily considering for Pomona or any of like the regionals or treasure cups coming up, just because of the fact that it is a deck that continues to do its own thing and it does it well. And your opponent has to answer you or try to chip you down the entire game. And sometimes it's very difficult for a lot of decks to do. Now I want to go over a couple of cards you might want to change or add into the deck. One of those being Thunder Bagua. This is a card that was very important in previous metas and previous sets. But the reason I took this out is because you don't really need it nearly as much with the Lin in the deck. Usually what you would end up doing on your 7 Dawn turn, if you're going second, you'd play the Nami. You'd usually take 1 life at that point and be down to 2, so you'd leave 2 open once you have the Nami out, stack the top, and you'd be able to play this Bagua as a defensive event, which I really like, and I think it's a great tool for this deck. But of course, with the Lin, you don't need it nearly as much. I do miss it from time to time. Of course, having a It's to Die For is a good card, but sometimes it's just bricky, and you don't really want to have this card in hand, and I'd rather have a Bagua in the late game. Another card that I think you might want to consider for this deck, if you are going into a lot of emus, which Keep in mind that matchup is pretty abysmal as is. I think you probably have like a 25% win rate into Emu, but this card, Douglas Bullet, can help that matchup slightly. It's not going to help you win it, but you might want to add this into the deck just in case you are expecting a lot of Emus. I might want to decrease one of the Rogers or one of the Mihawks in order to put this card in. The reason it's good into Emu is because it rests both of their blockers, and so they can't use those blockers for just free hits. And on top of that, this character gets double attack when you use the Dawn -4 effect. So this is a pretty strong card for a finisher against Emu. Otherwise, you're going to just try to high roll that matchup and do your best, but that's probably a losing matchup no matter what you put in. I have played around with the 9-cost Luffy that has Rush. I think it's fine. Of course, you're having to minus Dawn to use it, so you also don't use your Gum Gum Giant the same turn that this comes out, so that is a problem. So you might not want to include this, but it can surprise your opponent from time to time, of course, because they might not be expecting a Rush unit in this deck. I think a lot of people understand that people are playing Mihawks and mostly Rogers, but if you have a Rush unit like a Luffy, that could be a nice little surprise to throw in. And finally, let's talk a little bit about ratios here. So we have one pudding, and I really do like having 2 puddings in decks that I'm running, especially when in this meta people get huge hand sizes. You want to have a pudding at the optimal moment, and sometimes just having one, you never see it. With this deck, you do see it a little bit more often because you are constantly looking at the top of your deck with your leader ability. But I honestly wouldn't mind adding a second one in here because at worst, it's a 1k counter, and at best, you're able to really find it and utilize it well. I also am considering upping the Red Rock count because Red Rock is just a very important tool. Once you've already established a 9-cost Sanji plus another body, and then you can Red Rock their big guy, I think that's a really pivotal turn for you to be able to swing things back in your favor. Having 3 of them really helps out. If you only have 2, you might see 1. Obviously, you can grab with your leader ability, but having 3, typically you're going to be able to control the field very well. So that about does it for UP Luffy. Like I said, I'm pretty happy with this list overall. I might test it around a little bit more with some of it at locals and switch some of the ratios, maybe some cards in general like I talked about, but stay tuned for that. Maybe I'll post that in the Discord. So if you're not in the Discord, make sure to join that. And of course, what do you guys think about UP Luffy overall? Do you think he's a pretty good pick into the meta? And if you have been playing him, what spicy additions have you added into your deck list that maybe I didn't include? Let me know about that in the comments as well. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.